With what is going on with COVID-19 right now, does anyone have a right to enter Guyana even though our airspace has been closed off? What gives a person that entitlement? If there is such an entitlement, are there any restrictions on such an entitlement? Stay tuned to find out. My fellow Guyanese, my name is Brendan Glassford, and you are tuned into Clarity, where we provide clarity on legal issues that you have questions about. Before we begin, allow me to say this is an educational discussion. It is not legal advice, nor should it be considered legal advice. Now, with that out of the way, let's address the legal issues that you have questions about. Now, during the course of April, it has come out in the media that there are several hundred, if not thousands of Guyanese stranded outside of Guyana because of airport closures and airspace closures. Just to name a few, recently there have been Guyanese stuck in India, the US, and Cuba. Now, Guyana itself has had airport and airspace closures since approximately the middle of March. Now, in addition to this, through the chairman of the National Coronavirus Task Force, the government has espoused the position that they will not be allowing Guyanese who are stranded abroad back into Guyana at this time because of the risk that they pose to overwhelm the healthcare system if they should come back and be infected with COVID-19. What we're going to examine today is, does this pose a deeper legal issue than it appears to? Have you ever wondered why Guyana can't tell other governments who wish to send back Guyanese citizens who they are deporting? No, you keep them. There's a very simple reason. The fact that you are a Guyanese citizen entitles you to come back to Guyana. It entitles you to enter Guyana, to depart from Guyana, not to be expelled from Guyana, and freedom of movement within Guyana. Now, this is guaranteed by Article 148(1) of the Constitution, which is the freedom of movement article. So there are people who have the right to enter Guyana, and those people are Guyanese citizens, as we've mentioned. Now, what makes a person a Guyanese citizen? Now, for some of you watching, I'm sure you can think of at least one circumstance which makes a person a Guyanese citizen. Okay, so the circumstances of your birth which will allow you to become a Guyanese citizen or entitle you to Guyanese citizenship are set out between Article 41 of the Constitution to Article 45 of the Constitution. Okay, so the first is, if you were a Guyanese citizen at the commencement of this Constitution. Now, one thing that you must remember is that the current iteration of the Constitution was enacted in 1980. So if you are a citizen before 1980, you continue to be a Guyanese citizen. Secondly is if you were born in Guyana after the commencement of the Constitution. Thirdly, if you were born outside of Guyana to either a Guyanese mother or father after the commencement of the 1980 Constitution. Fourthly, if you were married to a Guyanese or married to a person entitled to be a Guyanese before the commencement of the Constitution, you are entitled to apply for Guyanese citizenship. And once you apply and take the oath of allegiance, you can become a Guyanese citizen. And finally, if you are married to a Guyanese citizen after the commencement of the Constitution, you are entitled to apply for Guyanese citizenship. And once your application is successful, you can take the oath to become a Guyanese citizen. So any person who is a Guyanese citizen through any of those means is entitled to the fundamental rights and freedoms which are protected under the Constitution. And for the purposes of this discussion, anyone who is a Guyanese citizen by the means we have just mentioned would be entitled to enter Guyana, leave Guyana, freedom of movement within Guyana. Where constitutional rights are concerned, the question of limitations or restrictions always comes up. And this is the case with Article 148 of the Constitution. In the context of speaking about COVID-19 and the right to enter Guyana, there is an obvious limitation that would apply. Any measures under any law which are reasonably required for public health. That is a challenge that every Guyanese who wishes to return at this time, other than the airspace being closed, of course, will have to contend with. So what any decision maker and any person or any group of people who wish to come back to Guyana would have to consider is denying a person or a group of people from coming back to Guyana reasonably required for public health. If those people who wanted to come back gave a written undertaking that they would be institutionally quarantined for a period prescribed by the government, would that action be enough to mitigate the risk of that person or that group of people's entry into Guyana? Also, another consideration is testing before they leave to come to Guyana, assuming that that testing proves negative, sufficient to mitigate any risk that they would pose to public health in Guyana. Is it possible that they could be tested before they enter Guyana and when they enter Guyana, and also have institutional quarantines? Would these measures be enough to mitigate any risk they pose to public health in Guyana? I've read recently that CARICOM officials are being allowed to enter into Guyana once they have been tested in their home country and that test comes back negative. It seems reasonable that through either testing beforehand and that test coming back negative, a voluntary written undertaking for institutional quarantine of a period prescribed by the government, that Guyanese citizens who wish to return to Guyana, once they can of course find their way back to Guyana, should be allowed to enter Guyana. If Guyanese citizens wish to return to their home country, it does not pose an undue risk to public health. They should be allowed to do so, as they are constitutionally entitled to, of course, with some restrictions. I hope we've given you clarity on these legal issues. Until next time, take care.